our staff. We have a short camp video that will give you an idea of our space and our facility, so we'll share that with you. We'll give a brief overview of the camps that we offer. We have both day and residential camps, and I recognize some of you may be signed up for camps, some of you may still be considering, so we'll let you know what we have to offer here. We'll highlight how to stay well at camp and also some of the resources that we have available. And then we'll open up to questions at the end. If something comes up or something comes to mind as we're chatting, you're welcome to use the chat feature. So we'll be monitoring that as well. And you heard we did start a recording, so we will record this session and then share it on our website. So it'll be available for folks that need to refer back to it or couldn't attend today. All right, thanks, Amy. Next slide. All right, so I'll start off. My name is Callie Sheets. I'm one of the camp directors at Project Oceanology. The camp that I'll be directing is the research camp. I'm one of the captains. I've been a lifeguard at Project O as well, and I've been a longtime educator. I'm also the curriculum director. So I'll pass it over next to, I think it's Marissa.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Marissa. I am also an educator at Project O, I think going on my 9th year. During that time, I was able to become a small boat captain, as well as lifeguard certified. And I help to direct 2 different camps. So one camp that I'll be talking with you about today is Ocean Explorer Academy, which is a day camp. And I also co-direct Ocean Camp the weeks that I'm not doing Ocean Explorer Academy.
Hi, everyone. My name's Debbie. I'm one of the marine science educators here as well. I'm a lifeguard and a small boat captain at Project O. I think this is my 7th summer with Project O. So I direct 2 camps as well. I direct the Undersea Technology Camp, which is one of our day camps. And I'm the other co-director of Ocean Camp. So Marissa and I kind of switch back and forth between being a director of a day camp and the overnight camp. So we both can kind of answer any kinds of questions you have about residential or day camps.
Sorry, folks, lots of moving parts. I had to unmute myself. But I'm Amy. I am both a educator here at Project O as well as the residential supervisor. So during the summer, I work with kids during the day, during the ocean camp sessions, as well as at nighttime. I'm the staff member that lives here at Project O, so I'll be with your kids overnight with the other 4 summer interns that work for.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. I'm one of the full-time marine science educators at Project O. I'm going into my 2nd summer at camp, very excited. And I am also one of the newer lifeguards for Project O as well. I work with both the undersea technology campers as well as the residential campers all throughout the summer. All right, so to kind of kick off the camp info portion of today, we have a little video that we put together to kind of give a brief overview of what our building and our facilities look like that your campers will be seeing every day while they're with us during the summer.
Project Oceanology can't wait to kick off the summer camp season. Let's take a tour of our waterfront facility. Keeping our campers safe and healthy is our #1 priority. Campers spend ample time outside in the fresh air each day. We have outdoor classroom spaces, dining areas, and game fields to use on campus. And of course, our floating classrooms, the research vessels in EnviroLab 2 and EnviroLab 3. We spend most of our days out on the water aboard our boats, and along the beaches and shorelines. If your camper is attending one of our residential camps, meals are provided by Yukon Dining Services. They are prepared in a Serve Safe certified kitchen located in the Project Oceanology cafeteria. Day campers bring their own lunches and snacks and be prepared to picnic on our adventure of the day. Residential campers will stay in our hostel bunk rooms. Sleeping quarters are arranged per the recommendations from the Connecticut Department of Health, allowing 6 feet of space between beds and arranging bunks head to toe. Each floor of the hostel also has 2 separate bathrooms with sinks, toilets, and showers. Single occupant, gender-neutral bathrooms are also available. Last stop on the tour is the pride and joy of Project O, our boats. Both research vessels are fully equipped with science gear to aid our exploration of Long Island Sound. Otter trawl nets, Peterson grab, plankton nets, water quality testing instruments, and so much more. We also have a fleet of Carolina skiffs with flat hulls so we can zip around shallow water ecosystems too. Project Oceanology is dedicated to providing meaningful, hands-on marine science experiences for our campers in the safest way possible.
Okay, so our next segment is we're just going to kind of explain some of the different camps that we have, just in a little bit more detail if you're new to camps. So the first to start off are some of our day camps. So we have Ocean Explorer Academy, we have Undersea Technology Camp, and then we have 2 partner camps with the Mystic Aquarium, the Conservation Camp, and the Animals and Their Environment Camp. So Ocean Explorer Academy, which is one of the ones that I personally direct, is students entering grades 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we have 4 different weeks of this camp, and each week has a slightly different theme. No matter which week you come to, we are going to be doing time on our boats as well as on the beaches. We'll be exploring different habitats, looking at all sorts of animals, and learning as well how humans are interacting with the environment. I've had some students come to multiple weeks of this camp, and each week is slightly different, but we kind of keep the same core ideas. So just a little example of a schedule that we have for the day. So check-in begins at 8:30, and then we get a little chance to stow personal gear, get ready for the day, talk about the plan. If we're going out to the beach in the morning, like the schedule says, then we will get a chance to get ready with our bathing suits and sunscreen. Sometimes we might have lunch in the field. Other times we might come back to campus in order to have lunch in our cafeteria. Our afternoon normally comprises of some sort of lab type activity, although some days we might also go out to a different environment. And then we always try to put in some fun group games and team building so that campers can really get to know each other well and make some nice friendships. Checkout is 4 o'clock, right around the outside of our building.
I'll be talking about our other day camp option, Undersea Technology. Debbie is the director for this particular day camp. And this is for students who are entering grades 6, 7, 8, and 9. So Undersea Technology Camp is kind of designed to be an engineering challenge all week. So we start the day every day with an engineering challenge of some kind. Students work together to build an ROV called a sea perch. And they design it for different types of tasks. So for example, one day we throw some popcorn at the surface of the water and they have to try to capture it, mimicking a trash cleanup in the ocean, or they have to retrieve something at the bottom, like a dive ring. ROVs are used all over the world for a lot of different purposes. So this kind of gives students an opportunity to explore that portion of marine science, the marine engineering world. So start the morning with an engineering challenge, and then we spend the rest of the day out in the field, either on our larger vessels, doing some other engineering challenges, such as studying the current or looking at erosion in our ecosystem, and then ending the day with some group games or just a kind of an activity to kind of break down the day and kind of get ready for the next day as well.
All right, now it's time to talk our residential camps, our overnight camps. Those vary in age groups. So we have some age bands. If you go to our website and go to register, you'll notice that each week comprises of different age groups. But so that means entering grades 6 through 12, but we won't have 6th graders and high school seniors together in the same week. So as we said before, our 2 residential camps are Ocean Camp and our Marine Science Research Experience. I'm one of the co-directors of Ocean Camp. So a sample schedule for us is wake up time is 7:30. So our Amy and our interns will wake up the kids in our hostel. So we have a beautiful hostel space, as you saw in the video. And so we'll wake them up and meet in the cafeteria for breakfast at 8. By 9 o'clock, we want to be out on the water, whether that's aboard our research vessels, our skiffs, or just along the shoreline at Avery Point. So we'll be out there doing some authentic marine science. So we don't just demonstrate how science is done. Our students actually are doing real science that contributes to a long-term data set that Project Oceanology has been working on for 51 years now. So by lunchtime, we're back at the building, eating in the cafeteria space shown in the video, and then we're back out in the water in the afternoon. We do build in a little free time throughout the day. You'll notice there are 2 opportunities for kids to have a little more unstructured time. In the afternoon, we're going to encourage them to just be outside playing games with one another outside on the lawn space near our building. In the evening, we have some free time too, but that's going to be inside the building where we could play some board games, or a lot of the kids get into some different interests that they have, I think last summer we had like some kids who were really into Dungeons and Dragons. So that's an opportunity for them to really get into some other activities and get to know each other really well. Lights out is 10 p.m. And we really hope they go to sleep after that. But I'll tell you, by the time we give them back to you on Friday afternoon, they're going to sleep pretty good.
All right, thanks, Debbie. So the next camp we'll talk about is the Marine Science Research Experience. So that's the other residential camp. It's broken up into 2 sessions. So we have an age band representing grades 7 through 10, and then a second band representing grades 9 through 12. And so if you have a budding marine scientist or someone who's thinking, maybe this is the career path for me, this is the camp for you. Debbie talked about participating in authentic science, and that's exactly what this is. So campers will have some common experiences on our first day where we get out in the field and we show off all the types of equipment and habitats that are available to us. And then by the end of Monday, campers are actually coming up with their own research project. And for the rest of the week, we're getting out in the field, they're collecting data. They're doing some processing of that data or entering data onto our laptops because they're going to be creating graphs or graphics. And by the end of the week, they're going to have a presentation that we'll share with all of you. And actually on our last day on Friday, when we invite families to come just a little earlier to show off and get to see the research that's been conducted all week. And we'll have a poster session in our cafeteria space right before checkout. So you'll see a similar schedule that, you know, after wake up and breakfast, we're trying to get outside into the field. We'll come back usually to the building for lunch and then get back out in the field for a second opportunity in the afternoon. And then after dinner, we just try to pause on the research a little bit and try to spend some time having some fun. So there are some free time opportunities. And usually in the evening, we do a lab that's not related to their projects. So you can see in the example here, we might do something fun like a fish printing activity or check out plankton underneath the microscope. So we try to, you know, give some downtime too in the evening. And so that's our research camp.
All right, so the packing list that we have listed here is specifically for overnight campers. Obviously, if you're in day camp, right, you're going to bring things that you need for the day. So sunscreen, a towel, sunglasses, sunglasses, insect repellent or anything that you might need. Usually students will bring it in a little drawstring bag or something that they can bring around with them to the islands or on the boat or something like that. But really, there's a lot more to bring for the overnight session. So just like I mentioned, a lot of the same things for when we're in the field. So that drawstring bag or that small backpack is going to be important for your camper to have with them. A bathing suit or two, because we're going to be on the water every single day. Multiple towels, both for the beach and for just, you know, the bath towel that they're going to need for showers throughout the week. And then a big one that folks need to make sure they notice is the bedding at the bottom. So in the hostel rooms, when you arrive, the beds will be empty. So you need to either bring a sleeping bag or linens and a blanket for your camper to have for the week, along with a pillow. And then the big thing here on this list that we like to highlight is please do not pack your camper with any electronic devices. So one of the things that we really cherish here at Project O and the summer camp experience is sort of unplugging, getting out into nature, getting hands-on with science. And so devices tend to take away from that experience. And so we ask even your older campers, you know, have them part with their electronics for the week. And that does not mean that you will not be able to contact your camper. You definitely have the opportunity to, and vice versa. We allow campers to call parents. And there's a couple different ways that we can do that. So one way is by phone. If you want to call our Project O number during the day, you may want to leave a message for your camper. And if you leave it on the camp phone, they may be able to call you back during a free time, especially towards the end of the evening as things start to wind down. Campers seem to always want to call home. I think once it's less busy, they start to think about what's maybe happening there. So interns will help campers be able to call home at that time. Parents also love to send emails, sort of like virtual postcards. And so it's always fun. We usually pass these out during meal times. And so it's sort of like your camper getting mail every day. So if you want to check in that way and maybe encourage your camper to call home, that's a great opportunity to do that. And then the other way is by snail mail. Just please be conscious, right, of the time period. So if you do want to send your camper a package or a letter or something like that, you may want to send it a few days before they arrive to make sure that it's here. And you can always let us know you know, what time in the week you want them to be able to have access to that piece of mail.
I'll just address a couple of things that I saw pop up in the chat. So cameras are absolutely welcome. We do encourage that. And Debbie also mentioned if you're worried about seeing what your kiddos are up to for the week, don't worry, we've got you covered. Our staff is really good at taking pictures and we share those with you on the first day through a Google photo album. So you'll, you know, have a sneak peek of what we're up to every day. So that's a nice way to, you know, feel like you're a part of what's happening during the week. Okay, so I have just a few points to talk about camp wellness here. We hope your campers come to camp healthy and feeling great to start. We will have daily check-ins for both day and residential camp, just to check in with campers and make sure they're feeling all right. You know, we're working with a lot of students in schools, and I know some students are still masking and feel comfortable with that. It's not required at Project O, but for those that choose to mask, we do welcome that and respect that choice. If your camper does decide to mask while at camp, we recommend a couple of masks, like 3 per day. We're going to be out in the field. Sometimes they get wet or sandy, so just bring a few with you. And our enhanced cleaning procedures that we sort of picked up and stepped up during our COVID years here, we're still proceeding with those. So health and safety of your campers is of the utmost importance to us. If your camper happens to get sick while they're with us at camp, we'll make sure to isolate them from the group, and then you'll be hearing from us. We'll be in contact with you. If a camper has a fever, diarrhea, or vomiting, kind of those things that, you know, they don't want to be having while they're at camp, we're going to reach out to you and ask you to come pick them up as soon as you can. We are aware that COVID is still out there and it still exists. We do have protocols in place for that, and all of those details are outlined in our camper handbook. So we're going to share those resources with you. And so we'll highlight all of those, the camper handbooks highlight all of those protocols if someone were to test positive, and how we would handle that. So I recommend that you take a look at those procedures before coming to camp. And it looks like Marissa just put that link in the chat. So that's where you can find some of those resources. And we have those highlighted on another slide here that's coming up as well.
All right, so we understand that some kids are going to need to bring some medications with them to camp. So we want to make sure that you are as prepared as possible for navigating what the state of Connecticut requires for medications at camp. So in summary, any medication that comes to camp, including over-the-counter meds like Advil or Tylenol, topical medications like Neosporin or like some athlete's foot spray, stuff like that, all of those things are going to need a self-administration form signed by your child's doctor. This allows us to provide the medication to the campers. They're going to be held in a safe location, a safe locked location, and provided to the campers in the correct dosage at the correct time. But we need to have that self-administration form signed by a doctor. Any meds coming to camp also need to be in their original boxes. So don't bring the pills in a Ziploc bag. A prescription label is required if it's a prescription drug, and the dosage must match what it says on the self-administration form. So if you know, the self-administration says 20 milligrams, but the bottle says, or prescription label says 40 milligrams, there's going to need to be some communication between you and your doctor to settle that out. Amy just shared the forms that are on our website. So these are all available. If you go to the summer camp link that Marissa posted in the chat, you can click on a little button near the top that says camp documents. And this is the self-administration form. Most of this information, you probably already know: the name of your kid, the address, and their birth date. But a lot of this needs to be completed by a doctor. So the name of the medication and whether or not it's controlled substance, those need to be double locked and secured by our staff. And then specific instructions. We need to know the dosage, the method or route. Is it, you know, taken by mouth, or is it like inhaled, things like that. Time of administration is a really important one for us. If it's taken in the morning, we need to know that, and that can't be left blank. And then if PRN, that means as needed. So if it's an as needed medication, how often can they take another dose? So, you know, if they have a headache, when can they take another dose if the medication isn't taking care of that headache for them? Some other things on there that the doctor can complete, but we do need to have that prescriber signature highlighted in gray there, and a date. And then also you need to sign it to agree that you're authorizing your child to self-administer the medication. Now, we have a great document, I think it's actually right after this, Amy, if you scroll down, that describes what the state of Connecticut defines as self-administration. But in a nutshell, what it means is we are going to be in control of the medication, but we provide it to the student at the correct time. And so they have the right to refuse it. That's sort of the crux of it. There are some forms provided by doctors that have a box that you need to check. Yes, I authorize self-administration. It's really important that that box is checked, that both you and the doctor are authorizing that self-administration. So other things that need to be filled out, there are EpiPen and asthma forms that are in addition to the self-administration form. This gives us very explicit instructions on how to deal with an emergent situation. So what do we do if your child is wheezing? What do we do if they're continuing to struggle after taking their rescue inhaler? You know, what different things do we need to do if there's management strategies? And the same is true for anaphylactic reactions, an allergic reaction to something in their environment. So do we administer Benadryl first, or do we go straight to the EpiPen? Those things need to also be completed and signed by a doctor along with camp. So along the lines of EpiPens, we require that you bring 2 to camp. And they need to be in their original box with the prescription label on it with your child's name on it. This is out of an abundance of caution. We really never want to have to use those, but we want to make sure that there's enough time for an ambulance to get to us. So having those 2 could make a huge difference to us. So we're really glad we're able to request that. If these forms don't apply to you, that's fine. You don't need to submit a blank form to us. No self-administration if they're not bringing any medications with them, or any asthma or EpiPen forms need to be submitted. There is one more form though I'd like to point out to you. I think it's the next one, Amy, I'm not sure. Yes, this is called our individual plan of care. And this one is really helpful in a lot of ways. So it's a way for you to tell us about dietary needs. It could be about you know, different things that would help us make your camper successful at camp. So for example, if your child needs a quiet space, every once in a while they can get overwhelmed by noisy situations. This is an opportunity for you to share those things with us. So if there are things that you think we should know about your camper and that our entire staff can be on the same page about, feel free to fill this form out. There's really no circumstance where it's not, you know, we're not going to be like, why did they bother filling this out? This is a great way for you to communicate with the camp directors, and we can share that with our entire staff so that we can really provide the best possible experience for your camper. I think that is all the forms. There's also a couple more descriptions of what each of the forms represent and what they mean. But again, that's on the link that Marissa shared. If you click on camp documents at the top of that page, you'll find all of the information I was just describing.
All right, and I'm going to show you guys how to access that link now as we talk about sort of camp family resources. So if you were to go to our website, it's going to bring you to the home page. If you were then to sort of go to this top bar here and select Summer Camp 2023, it's going to give you all of those resources that we've talked about so far. So if you wanted to get to those camp documents that we were just highlighting, you may click this tab here. It also has both of our residential and day camp handbooks. So just for an example, I'll show you the residential camper handbook. It really has all of the information that you need before sending your child to camp here at Project O. So there's that packing list that we referenced. It talks about arrival time, even directions are listed there. It talks about medication, camper checkout. It gives you again another example schedule of what your child might be doing during that day, and even how illness is taken care of here. So everything that we've talked about is really inside of this document, and folks here at Project O work really hard to make sure any questions you may have are sort of answered in this document. So again, we really recommend that you take a look at these before you're sending your camper to their week of camp. The other thing that I will mention to you, is aside from the handbooks and the camp documents, there's also a question area or an FAQ section on our website. So if you have any questions, aside from what you may find in the document, if your questions are answered there, this may be a good place to sort of turn to find some of those things you may be looking for. I'll specifically point out our COVID policies are still down here in the corner. I know we didn't touch on that specifically during our time here tonight, but you may want to check that out. And then lastly, listed here is contact information. So if after this camp session, you still feel like you want some more details about camp, listed here is our number to Project O to the front office, as well as our general Project Oceanology email. And then the emails and contact for all of our camp directors. So Callie, Debbie, and Marissa, as well as their corresponding camps that they work with. So I'll give you folks a moment to sort of record and write those down if you wanted them. But we're going to open up the floor to questions. So you may want to put those in the chat, or if folks want to sort of use the hand raise function, I think either works.
I think I need to unmute people. So I did see something in the chat that said, can you tell us more about potassium iodide administration? Does someone want to explain that while I try to let people unmute themselves?
So because of our proximity to Millstone Power Plant, we fall within a certain range of that facility. We have access to potassium iodide or KI pills. And so in the event of a disaster there at that site, we would be able to administer those pills to your camper if you wanted us to. So there's an option for you to check in our paperwork, like, yes, I would like you to administer that pill, or no, I would not like you to administer that. I hope that answers your question. I can tell you more details if you have something more specific.
I believe you can also now unmute yourself if you would like to ask a question in person.
Hi, is somebody else talking? Hi.
Go ahead.
Hi, we're really excited about it. One of the questions my daughter had was about food. I know that you guys are catered through UConn, but what types, is there a choice of food? I know she tends to sort of gravitate towards, I don't know, sort of veggies and stuff like that. I'm assuming there'll be fruit, vegetables. I'm just curious, like what it looks like overall.
Yeah, so we have worked with the UConn Dining Services to come up with a menu that hopefully appeals to younger students. We do try to have some sort of fruit and vegetable with every meal and sides. The kitchen also does a great job of being completely allergy friendly and free, as well as working with any sort of particular dietary restrictions that your camper might have. So typical, the most popular, for instance, meal is chicken tenders and French fries. That's like a hot topic one. Usually the first day, when if you're doing residential camp, your camper comes on a Sunday afternoon, and UConn Dining Services isn't running at that time. So we actually will order pizza from a local establishment. So that's the only other meal where UConn is not actually providing it.
Is it possible to send stuff with her, like yogurts and stuff like that? I mean, is it
yes.
things and just have a kitchen that she could eat there?
For sure. So if you, I've had it in the past where there's some campers that are particularly picky eaters, and parents will definitely provide options and alternatives if the camper maybe doesn't like that meal. And if you're really worried about it, you can reach out to us. We're trying to fine tune the meal plan right now, so we can always send that out to you once we have it solidified.
Great.
We also have like a communal space where any sort of snacks that your camper might want, definitely feel free to bring those. We just don't allow them in the bunk rooms because in the past we've had issues with insects, particularly ants. So we have that, and we do have a refrigerator as well. So yogurts we could put in there with your camper's name on it for sure.
All right, so Marissa, let's try to work through some of the questions that are in the chat. And then if people have others, we can, we'll ask you to sort of unmute or use the raise hand feature. But I see a question in the chat about the Zoom. Is the next session going to be new information or the same? It's actually going to be the same topics covered. So you won't have to join the next Zoom if you are present today. And again, we'll be posting this on our website so folks can refer back to it in case you joined us late. Drop off for residential campers is right at Project O. We have parking lot D is closest near us. And so you'll park there and then bring your campers in just the main entrance, the front door, and we'll have a series of check-in tables there. Let's see, I think some of these may have been addressed, but we'll just say them out loud too. There was a question about bringing outdoor items like footballs or frisbees. Those are welcome. We have a stash of our own, but we would encourage if campers had a favorite to bring that along as well. What else am I missing here in the chat, Marissa? Anything else?
Did you mention outdoor items?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I wasn't sure if like I missed the second half of that.
I think I'd like to address, there's a question about camper oversight and security. So I'd like to speak to that a little bit. Our campers are with our staff and our interns for residential camp, at least staff and interns pretty much all the time. They're never, wandering off by themselves. The only time they're out of the eyesight of an adult is when they're in their bunk rooms. We have our intern staff of 4 college students who are living in the hostel in their own rooms. So they're right on the hallways with our campers. And Amy is overnight with them as well. So they have access to a trusted adult during the night if they're not feeling well or something is bothering them. They can come and find someone to help them handle that situation. During the day, we have 2 interns and 2 educators assigned pretty much from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. So we maintain a ratio of 8 to 1. So we have pretty good security in that regard. Our doors are locked in our building for the entire summer. You'll see us, we have our keys with us all the time. So interior doors and exterior doors are locked at all times. So there aren't any just strangers wandering through the building at any point. We are on a college campus, but summer sessions are very small. There's not a lot of other action on campus. And we also have a good relationship with UConn campus police, who are very responsive to any issues that might arise with our camps. So I hope that answers your security question. If there's anything else you wanted to specifically know about, either put it in the chat or you can unmute.
Hi, so quick question. I think some of this was already answered during the chat, but if I could get a little bit more info. So my son is attending for the first time. He's got some friends that are girls that have done this before, I think. And just trying to figure out, like, I'm presuming they won't be staying in the same sort of bunk together, but they'll certainly be together during the day and stuff. How are bunk mates determined, or hostel mates, however you describe it?
That's a great question, Allison. So we do have a section on our active network when you register, which you can always go back and edit, that does mention something about bunkmates. So we've had that happen in the past, either where friends come together to this camp, or maybe past campers became friends and they want to come back the same week. We do have the ability for you to kind of share that, but I don't think in your situation they would share the same room. But you could be able to, on your registration, put that these are his friends and he would like to be on the same floor.
Okay.
And during the camp session, during the day, everyone's all together.
That's great. Okay,
So-
thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Each floor is co-ed, and there are multiple bathrooms, as well as we have a unisex bathroom as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I did have a question that I would like to address about if a camper is potentially not great at swimming. So we require all of our campers, while they're aboard any of our boats, as well as when they're in the water up to a certain level, that they need to be wearing a life jacket. So please don't feel worried if your camper is not great at swimming. We definitely take that security precaution very seriously. And we always have them in a life jacket. And we actually will do little float races sometimes if the current is right, where we'll wear our life jackets and we can't kick our arms and legs and we have to float and see who can win the fastest. So that's kind of a fun way to make it not seem crazy to wear life jackets all the time. That's it.
And Debbie added to the chat, but we also have licensed lifeguards on our staff as well. So each camp will have at least one lifeguard on their staff. I see there's a question about seasickness. If you know your camper gets seasick, then probably it's a conversation with your doctor about what is the best approach. We've seen all sorts of things through our time at camp. Sometimes campers would take Dramamine before we would go out. We've seen lots of campers with the C bands that works with the pressure points on your wrist. Some campers have come with the patches. So probably the best conversation to have with your doctor. But if you don't know your child gets seasick, we have sort of the tried and true, which is looking at the horizon once they're out on the water, being out of the cabin and in the fresh air. So we have kind of those tricks up our sleeve as well. If it was something severe, we would be contacting you, and then hopefully you could be in contact with your doctor if there was a way to get the proper forms to us. You could add a seasickness medication during the week, should that become a real issue.
Yeah, I think as Debbie said in the chat, if you're worried about it and you're not sure, you can always get the C bands. I believe they sell them at like drugstores. I've gotten them at Walmart before. There's no medication as part of that. So you don't necessarily need a doctor's form. If you brought Dramamine, you would need a form for that. There was another question that I just saw about weather conditions. So we do monitor the weather pretty closely, especially in the summer. It tends to kind of change quickly. So the biggest weather conditions for us are like thunder and lightning, as well as severe winds. So if it's still kind of like raining or drizzling, we might still go out, or if we do have an extreme weather condition, we might try to rearrange our schedule a little bit. So if we know it's going to be like thunderstorms in the morning, but it's supposed to break up in the afternoon, we might flip-flop our activities so that we are able to still do all of the same things throughout the week. As far as going offshore, we go probably about a mile or two, depending on what our activity is. No matter where we are, we always have land in sight. And it's usually about like a 30 to 40 minute, depending where we are, trip back to dock. All right. I did see a question also about lunches. Yeah, so we're working on lunches. We applied for a grant to hopefully be able to provide free lunch to all of the day campers as well. So we're waiting to hear back from that. And again, if your camper is a day camper and they are a picky eater, and we do get that funding, we will mention what the meal schedule is ahead of time. So say if you know that day your camper is not a fan of that, then we can come up with an alternative that we definitely want to make sure your camper's eating. That's a big priority, especially of mine personally.
And to just address the point about where lunch will be had, sometimes it will happen in our cafeteria space, but sometimes it'll be out in the field and we'll pack a picnic lunch with us. So it sort of depends on the camp and the day. So expect both.
So I do see a question from Dorothy about restriction on foods. We don't necessarily have a restriction on foods all the time. There are some instances where we know or are aware that there's a student who has an allergy. So we might make a special mention like to that group of students or their parents before they come to camp. We've had a variety of different allergies in the past, and some are like through the air. So it's especially important in those cases where we want to have full communication so that everyone feels safe and comfortable at camp. All right.
Right, so I think we've addressed all the questions in the chat. If we missed one, just please feel free to unmute and let us know. Again, if something comes up or you have conversations with your campers and you're wondering about something else, you know how to get in touch with us. We'd be happy to answer your questions. So thank you so much for coming, and we're really looking forward to an awesome summer.